Well, WENY News has new information tonight on a story we've been following since last year. Construction at a Horseheads Hotel near the intersection of Westinghouse Road and County Route 64 has now resumed after months of no progress.
WENY's Brandon Menard is looking deeper into this story, and he joins us now to bring us the latest. Brandon?
Nick, Renata, the hotel on Corning Road is once again under active construction after several months spent in a standstill. On Monday, the Village of Horseheads issued an open building permit to Finger Lakes LLC to continue work on the building. This comes after project developer Tom Shen was arrested late last July for issuing a bad check to a local contractor for more than $350,000. I attempted to reach Shen over the phone multiple times this afternoon to comment on the project. At this time, our calls have not been returned. Be sure to stick with WENY News as we continue to work on gathering more information about the construction project. But for now, reporting in the studio, Brandon Menard, WENY News.
Well, many of you may drive by the hotel being built on Corning Road in Horseheads every day. It's just off Interstate 86. And if you've been paying attention, you may be wondering why it's taking so long to be built.
WENY's Brandon Menard caught up with a former contractor who worked at the site to learn more about some of the issues surrounding that project.
At the end of August of 2017, O'Connor Plumbing and Heating owner John O'Connor says he had a contract with hotel property developer and Finger Lake LLC owner Tom Shen.
I was written a check for $367,000 that I could cash on the 13th of October. I deposited that check on the 16th of October, I believe, and the check was returned to me for insufficient funds.
O'Connor and his crew left the site after Shen's check allegedly bounced and never went back. He then put a lien on the hotel in December of 2017 so it can't be sold without O'Connor getting paid. Now O'Connor says they're going to court to try and auction off the hotel to get some of the money owed.
When you file a lawsuit and there's a property involved, you can ask the judge to auction the property like a foreclosure, just like a bank would do. You know, if I'm not going to get paid, then yeah, I hope that the court sees it my way and will auction the property off.
Shen was arrested on July 13, 2018 after a 9-month investigation on charges of grand larceny and issuing a bad check. I reached out to him today, but he refused to comment. Meanwhile, construction through a different contractor started back up at the site this week. But for O'Connor, he's still trying to stay afloat.
You wake up in the middle of the night trying to figure out how you're going to pay your bills, and you go to bed at night wondering how you're going to pay your bills, and you come in here every day and you put a smile on your face and you go see clients and you bid jobs and you know, if I can make a little bit on this job and a little bit on this job, and maybe someday I'll be back to even.
Stick with WENY News as this story develops. In Elmira, Brandon Menard, WENY News.
Thank you, Joe. Well, after more than a year of little to no activity, the so-called ghost hotel in Horseheads right off Route I-86 is starting to make some progress since construction work started back up just a few weeks ago.
That's right. And as WENY News reported, the developer of the project was accused of writing a bad check worth more than $300,000 to a local contractor. But WENY News found an odd twist in this story. The whole project appears to be marketed as a way for foreign investors to buy their way into the U.S. And according to one lawsuit, the whole project is a scheme to defraud people looking for a green card, and the hotel may never be finished.
In a lawsuit filed in Chemung County Supreme Court in January of this year, a Chinese national living in Delaware says he gave Finger Lake LLC owner Tom Shen $520,000 as an investment for the yet-to-be-finished 4-story hotel in Horseheads, right off I-86. The lawsuit goes on to say the individual gave the money to Shen also with the hopes of becoming an immigrant investor, and Shen and another defendant, Su Yang, would help the plaintiff get his green card. But according to the suit, That never happened, and Shen and Yang kept the $520,000. The attorney for the plaintiff tells WENY News it's still very early in the case.
At this point, Mr. Shen and Ms. Yang have not answered the allegations of the complaint. I can't tell you anything about what defenses they may try to raise, and I won't know that until they answer the allegations of the complaint.
The lawsuit includes a laundry list of accusations against the hotel project, including Shen and Yang never actually intended to ever build a hotel, and the construction is nothing more than just an illusion to other potential immigrant investors. WENY News discovered documents online where the project is being touted as a Best Western Plus and asks for a $500,000 minimum investment. It includes this rendering of what the finished hotel will supposedly look like. These documents also feature pictures of the Horseheads Hotel project during construction and with the claim that the project can be seen and touched as it works towards completion. But in the lawsuit filed against Shen, Yang, or Finger Lake LLC never got approval from Best Western to open up a franchise. And every website that mentions the hotel project touts the EB-5 investment program. Some documents related to the project show pictures of President Trump and Congress with an EB-5 stamp plastered nearby.
EB-5 is one way that people can immigrate to the United States. Congress set up this program in 1990. It requires investors to invest at least $500,000 in a project that will create at least 10 jobs for U.S. workers. It's a long, slow process, and it can be quite complicated.
According to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, once the EB-5 requirements are fulfilled, investors can get green cards for themselves and their family.
A green card allows someone to live permanently in the United States. It differs from a temporary visa, like a student visa. It is also not U.S. citizenship, so it's sort of halfway on the path to becoming a U.S. citizen.
This latest lawsuit is not the only legal hurdle facing this hotel, Finger Lake LLC, or Tom Shen. As WENY News reported, Shen was arrested on July 13, 2018, after a 9-month investigation on charges of grand larceny and issuing a bad check. The owner of O'Connor Plumbing and Heating says he was the victim of that bad check.
I was written a check for $367,000 that I could cash on the 13th of October. I deposited that check on the 16th of October, I believe, and the check was returned to me for insufficient funds.
Also, according to the lawsuit, Shen allegedly said that the hotel was supposed to be finished in June of 2016 and operating shortly thereafter. WENY News reached out to Mr. Shen for a comment on the latest developments, but we were unable to reach him. But WENY News also reached out to Best Western to get some more information on the project, but they said any relationship between Best Western and the hotel project was terminated months ago. The controversy surrounding the unfinished hotel project in Horseheads right off I-86 continued today in the courtroom. WENY's Brandon Menard was at the Chemung County Courthouse today and has the latest developments in this ongoing case.
Finger Lake LLC owner Tom Shen was in court today to answer to charges of grand larceny and issuing a bad check in relation to the hotel being built on Corning Road in Horseheads. He allegedly issued a check to O'Connor Plumbing and Heating for over $300,000 in 2017, which bounced.
I admit my client made some silly mistakes, and new immigrant in a new country. He doesn't know the language, he doesn't know the way things supposed to be done, but it's all civil, it's not criminal.
In July of 2018, Shen was arrested following a 9-month investigation and later posted bail. Hai is claiming Shen didn't know what he was signing when he got into the contract with O'Connor.
At that time they signed a contract, I believe my client I don't know lawyer. My client is English illiterate. He didn't understand more than basic English. I don't know he understand what he was signing.
While Shen's lawyer claims Shen can't speak or understand English very well, contractor John O'Connor says Shen can speak it perfectly fine, and he has evidence to prove it.
I have him on tape talking English in meetings. He speaks perfect English. This here is totally a hoax that he don't know how to speak English.
Today's court date resulted in the judge scheduling another hearing on the case for June 4th. In Elmira, Brandon Menard, WENY News.
Well, the Horseheads man who owns the hotel being built just off the highway in Horseheads was back in court today for further court proceedings in a fraud case. WENY's Brandon Menard joins us live from downtown Elmira to break down what's happening with that case. Brandon.
Nick, the prosecutor handling this case, said they offered Tom Shen a plea deal this morning in Chemung County Court, but Shen didn't take it. Shen faces a charge of scheme to defraud in regards to the hotel that has been under construction for years now on Corning Road in Horseheads. He's accused of accepting $500,000 from a foreign investor in exchange for a green card. Under the plea offer, Shen would have had to pay John Tu $250,000, with a civil judgment for $250,000 also payable to Tu, as well as a $900 to Lance LaCarraza, who was a former contractor for the hotel. Since Shen rejected the offer, he will now go to trial and faces a maximum of 4 years in prison. During the hearing, Judge Richard Rich says Shen could also be deported. I spoke to Shen's attorney, Paul Barton, who didn't want to talk to me on camera, but he did tell me they believe this case is a civil matter. Barton went on to say the hotel is on track to be completed. As of right now, the case is set to start the week of January 27th. Stick with WENY News both on air and online as we continue to follow this case. But for now, reporting live in Elmira, Brandon Menard, WENY News.